This is a sports catastrophe production.
Hey there, Heather Ho there. It's Jeff Cutter and welcome you to another sports catastrophe on this date. And on this day, September 24th, 1957, the Brooklyn Dodgers played their last game at Ebbets Field, a legendary ballpark to be sure. But it's also almost the end of the Brooklyn Dodgers as we know it. The Pirates were 60-91 coming to this game, and Brooklyn was 82-68, battling Milwaukee for the top spot in the National League. And as is tradition in the 1950s, the winner of the AL and NL, no playoffs, would be in the World Series. Brooklyn were way back as the Milwaukee Braves had put up a great movement. They were up by 7 over St. Louis, so there was no way Brooklyn was going to catch and go to their third straight World Series. The Brooklyn Dodgers were a pretty good franchise back in the day. They didn't start spreading their wings more so until the 1920s, like the New York Giants did. The Dodgers were not really known for winning World Series and all that. It took till 1955 to win the World Series. Sure, they got to the finals a lot against the New York Yankees, and it was always Yankees-Dodgers, a great rivalry before the Dodgers moved to Los Angeles. But still, it was baffling for Brooklyn to never win the World Series. Ebbets Field was a decent ballpark. They had some great players. But it took till 1955 to finally win the World Series, which is like bullcrap in my mind. But let's not forget that the Dodgers and their drought pales in comparison to the Phillies being the last of the original 16 franchises to win the World Series in 1980, mind you. So Brooklyn was on their last legs as a city as well, as a borough. Because Brooklyn was hot and all that, but once World War II happened, people moved to the suburbs. The inner city of Brooklyn was taken over by minorities a lot, and people were just being xenophobic. Well, that's something new, but anyhow, people didn't really want to go to Brooklyn games and all that. And this was evident. So Brooklyn had problems. They wanted to build a new stadium that would have been great and maybe had a geocetic dome, or however you pronounce it. Geocetic, I guess you can call it that. But the fact of the matter was that the Dodgers were in for it. They couldn't get a new stadium. Walter O'Malley was being a bitch. The New York City Commissioner, Robert Moses, was being a bitch. People were being a bitch. The city of Los Angeles pounced on Brooklyn's problems and wanted to move the team to Los Angeles. Because LA had sparkling renewed for baseball. And no team west of St. Louis had a baseball team. So anyway, there were open negotiations that the Dodgers would be moving to Los Angeles. Of course, the Dodgers would convince the New York Giants to move to San Francisco to do a California rivalry and to basically have teams, flying to LA to play the Dodgers. They could play games in San Fran too and have a California week. Of course, there would be a lot of issue, but whatever. So anyway, Brooklyn was going to move to Los Angeles and all that. And the tale of how dilapidated Ebbets Field was and the fans staying away from Brooklyn as a whole was huge, as only 6,700 fans came to see the Dodgers, who were assured to be above 500, play the Pirates. The starting lineups: Pittsburgh had Gene Baker at third, Rowan Mayas in right, Dick Groat, the future MVP winner, at shortstop, Bob Skinner in left, Dee Fondi at first, Bill Mazeroski, remember the name, at second base, Roberto Clemente played center field, Hardy Peterson was your catcher, and Benny Daniels was your pitcher. Remember, this is before the DH rule in effect. The Dodgers had Jim Gilliam at second, Gino Cimoli, former Pirate, at center field, Elmer Fallow in right, Gil Hodge was playing third base, which was unusual because everyone knew he was a first baseman, Sandy Almiroz, him of the famous backhanded catch in Game 7 of the 55 World Series. In left, Jim Gentile at first, Roy Campanella still around and catching, Don Simmer, the gerbil, at short, and Danny McDivitt would be the pitcher. The game would start out quickly for the Dodgers as Fallow hit an RBI double to score Gilliam, making it 1-0 Dodgers. And An RBI single by Hodges made it 2-0 Dodgers, and it was just pure stupidity and all that. By the 5th inning, they decided to get rid of Campanella, the Dodgers, and make Joe Pignatano, sorry for my mispronunciation, at catcher. Gil Hodges went to first base, and Pee Wee Reese, the legendary Dodgers captain, if you will, started to play third base. And everyone knew it. Like, they knew the Dodgers were moving, and they wanted the hero, Pee Wee Reese, to come into the game. There wouldn't be too many moves and all that, as Danny McDivitt would actually go the distance. Got Dick Rote on a fly ball in the 9th, struck out Bob Skinner, and forced Fondy to ground out to first. So the Dodgers won the game 2-0, good on them. They were doing pretty well against the Pirates, and 6,000 fans were around to see it. No massive ceremony, nothing of the major sort. It's amazing, the picture, if you're watching it, how colorized and how great it looks and all that. But the fact of the matter is that Brooklyn was going to lose their Dodgers, and it didn't seem like anyone cared. Well, after all, backstage politics were the main reason why this happened, so who could blame the fans? LA got the Dodgers, San Francisco got the Giants, and it was a California rivalry. The city of New York was miffed. They still had the Yankees, who were perennial superstars. But still, what do you have left? And the Braves even won the World Series against the Yankees in 7 games. So the city of New York basically lost out on 2 baseball teams out of 3. Sure, they had 1, and most teams like Boston had 1 as well, but still. It took a failed league called the Continental League to make New York City want another baseball team, and so the Mets were born in 1962. And the Mets played at the Polo Grounds. Ebbets Field was actually demolished not long after the 57 season, if you must know. So anyway, yeah. And the Dodgers, it didn't take long for them to be perennial superstars after leaving Brooklyn for Los Angeles. 1959, their second year in LA, they won the NL pennant in a 3-game playoff against the Milwaukee Braves, and then won the World Series against the White Sox in 6. The Dodgers would keep winning World Series left, right, and center in Los Angeles, making Brooklyn fans just steamed and all that. Brooklyn would never get a whiff of World Series. It took years before minor league baseball made its way back to Brooklyn and all that. So yeah, the Brooklyn Dodgers were a great organization while they were in Brooklyn. But otherwise, it just didn't happen. I don't know why. Anyway, I'm Jeff. I'm going to do